everybody. We are back for the final stream of the day. If you haven't caught it already, we've just done a Sunderland Borough watch along. I am on the verge of throwing myself off a bridge, a rather tall bridge. Leeds. Check out the second channel if you haven't done so. There'll be some entertainment for you over there. With more content to come, obviously. Leeds United going into the end of the window. We'll keep you updated on anything that happens in the next 28 minutes-ish. I'm joined by one of my favourite people on this app. We're going to be speaking about everything Leeds United, everything window-based as well. I'm happy to be chatting to someone, to be quite honest with you. I've been chatting to myself for the best part of 4 hours. My missus is used to this a lot of the time anyway. Shout out to Matt. Shout out to all of you guys in the building who are still staying strong with One Leeds. It has been an epic day of content, of which I need a lie down. But you can't lie down, Connor, because you're full of adrenaline and your eyes are hurting because of this light, which is steaming. Just chill out, Connor. Chill out. I need Oscar to bring me back down right now. We're back here. 28 minutes of the window left. Mr. Oscar Marriott, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, mate, good. That was one of your more unusual introductions, that one, mate. I was wondering where you were going with that. I mean, it is Leeds and transfer windows, and Leeds in the January transfer window don't tend to go very well. Although 32 minutes to go, in fact, a bit less than that. I'm looking forward to the sightings of William Saliba in Ellen Road, McDonald's car park, or Virgil van Dijk in Gravleys, or... let's think of who else. Messi getting caught in the Clayton Hotel. You know what's going to happen. It always happens, doesn't it? Just mad stuff. But it's pretty much finished, I think. Or almost finished. I don't think there's going to be any big surprises now. Hopefully, no bad surprises. Maybe some good surprises, but I don't think it's going to be any different in terms of the squad. From what it is now, in 25 minutes' time, I don't think there is going to be anything that happens. But we shall see. And that is a lovely, happy start to the video. 4 minutes in. Don't worry, guys. Nothing's going to happen here. There's nothing to see here.
Right. Happy or annoyed?
I mean, you can't really say happy because we haven't signed anyone. So it's like we haven't actually we're not in a stronger position now than what we were at the start of the window. Having said that, though, when you see, obviously, Pascal Strout get linked to the move out, Matteo Joseph, obviously, Alcinaca couldn't leave in the January window because he's already played for 2 clubs. But when you see, obviously, you'll keep hold of, these kind of players, even like, say, Ramazani or Nonto, who haven't actually played, much in the last couple of weeks, maybe no team make a cheeky bid for them, thinking that, they're not actually starters at this moment in time. That is maybe a happy thing that we've not really had any distractions in that sense. But I can't say it's been a successful window when we haven't strengthened from where we were at the start of the window kind of thing. But at the end of the day, one thing I will say here is this isn't me, trying to say, we have too high expectations and this and that. But there was far less scope for us to improve the squad we've got than there was for Sheffield United, and there was for Sunderland, and there was for Burnley. And yes, I know that's not what people want to hear, but the reality is Burnley have gaping holes in their squad. Sunderland had gaping holes in their squad. Sheffield United had gaping holes in their squad. I'd actually argue that many of those teams still do, have areas of the team where I think, yeah, they're not actually as strong there as they are in the rest of the team. I still say with like a Sheffield United, what if Raksaki got injured for the season? What are they going to do then out wide? Where are the options out wide given the same level of quality? If you look at Burnley, what if Egan Riley got injured? Would Esteve have the same kind of composure? Would he look as good without an Egan Riley alongside him? What if James Trafford got injured? There's all, and you can say the same about Leeds. These different bits and pieces. I think every squad has got holes in it, and the reality is we wouldn't be in the Championship if we didn't have that. But I'd still say, even with the signings, impressive signings, likes of Marcus Edwards, I think it's mental that he's going to be playing Championship football. I genuinely would go as far to say, I mean, I saw him play for Lisbon a couple of years ago, and the actual idea he would go and play in the Championship a couple of years later is mind-boggling. It's similar with Lafay. I never actually saw him play live, but again, from what I've seen of him, the fact he was getting linked with Bournemouth, this time last year and maybe in the summer window, and now he's playing for Sunderland. No disrespect to Sunderland, but they are big moves. But I'd still say, it takes more than one player to suddenly make these teams better on paper than Leeds. Leeds, as I say, our second team would have a good chance to finish top 2 in this league. It genuinely would. If you look at the bench we had on Saturday, as much as we like to complain about things, you can't deny it. When you look at that bench on Saturday, every single player would have started for Cardiff. Every single player on that bench would have started for Cardiff and probably would have been their best player. It's a telling thing. Again, I'll get criticism for saying that, but I do think that's the situation we're in. I'm not saying we couldn't have done business. I'd have loved the Cameron Archer. I'd have absolutely loved that. Some of the number 10s that got mentioned, I'd have loved that as well. I'd have loved a little bit more centre back depth. But yeah, for whatever reason, it hasn't happened, and it is what it is. And I just think in general, we always focus on the good January deals. I think January's not a good window. I don't think it's ever really been that great a window. I think there's a lot more terrible January transfers than there are good ones. I think the good ones obviously get mentioned, but for every say Kiefer Moore last season, that there is signings that just don't work out at all. It is reality. So it's not a good window to do business in. I'm happy. You said off air, Connor, if we just signed Tanaka and Ramazani in the January window rather than the summer window and split up to say the signings a little bit more instead, say we just did Solomon and Bogle in the summer and then we did Tanaka and Ramazani, it'd feel a lot more spread out and balanced. But ultimately, if you gave me a choice between getting the January window right and the August window right, you're taking the August window all day long because you've got a whole season to play with. It's no good having a great January window if you've messed up the first bit of the season. So that's the way I look at it. That feels like a very defensive start to the video, but I'm not that defensive of what we've done. I just think there has to be context behind this as well. I don't think you can compare our situation to Sunderland and Burnley directly because the reality is they were starting in a much worse place than what we were.
Yeah, I guess
that was long.
It's all right. It's all right, mate. Trust me, I've been doing this for the whole day, so it's not. It's nice hearing someone that Brownie came on earlier on, but it's nice hearing someone else's opinion as well. I mean, if I said to you, Ramazani or Edwards, who you taking?
Ramazani or Edwards? I think I'd still go Ramazani.
Right. Okay. So he's probably the statement signing. Maybe Enzo Laffy, I'd say, is definitely up there. But he just had a really good game against. I have to say it's Luke Ayling. So it's a little bit of a caveat there. I have to say, I think it's Enzo Laffy's best game. I think he's best purpose centrally, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But I am looking at it, and I think it's just the other signings. I'm not blown away. Oscar, I'm not like Marcus Edwards. I think you spot on. I think you've just answered the stream for yourself. Who are you taking, Ramazani or Marcus Edwards? I think Marcus Edwards is an argument that there's a signing of the window there. Enzo Laffy, I think, has been a terrific signing. He's what Sunderland needed. Sunderland will be there or thereabouts towards the end of the season. I just look at us right now. If I'm to have begged one place, look, I was fine with the 49ers not really doing anything. So I thought, if Darlow would have come in as replica, we've spoken about this on the debrief. If he'd have come in as replica of in replacement, I should say, of Meslier, I wouldn't have been asked by that because I think you get someone who's 2 out of 10, 3 out of 10 in replacement of that guy in the goal. We're absolutely fine. And we're, at least 4 or 5 points better off, even if you give them a little bit of a differential of 2 or 3 points there, Oscar. If you've been a little bit harsh on Darlow there. But overall, I just kind of look at it and I think, okay, they've made some half decent signings. Don't get me wrong, there's decent signings around us, but I look at the 22-man squad we've got. It's miles better. It's miles better than the rest. So I'm kind of looking at it right now. And I'll be honest, I do think a lot of the people maybe who are a little bit disappointed by it, and I understand, I'm maybe a little bit worried about injuries and Daniel Farker. Can he count for the rest of the season? Oscar, we've got 16 games left, man. We've got 16 games left. We're 5 points clear. We've got the best goal difference we've had. I think and a lot of people compare to last season. We're in a much better position than last season, mate. I think at this point, last season, we're on 60 points in fourth position. So the league quality's definitely gone down. The squad is a little bit more balanced. The 49ers have done the business in the summer, mate. And for me, if Archer wasn't the one, if they're not able to negotiate a fee, which is for me, I think, I don't know about you here, man, and there's so many questions there that I'm posing, but I'm just making statements and I'm asking you questions as well. But I don't think they wanted to move unless it was an option. I think the fact that it was an obligation maybe put Leeds off a little bit. And I think that's a smart move, to be honest with you. But overall, man, it's more of an indictment on the fact that the 49ers have done good business in the summer window for me. And listen, Daniel Farke's top of the division. We've just won 7-0. We have apparently got a crisis at the back with the goalkeeper, of which I would replace 100%. But we've got a crisis at the back. We've got the second best defensive.
We've kept 5 clean sheets in a row.
Yeah, and that's what I mean, man. I mean, I don't rate him. I will never rate the guy. It's just, and that's based on evidence. But the goals conceded puts us, second in the division. We are not conceding goals at the minute. And yeah, we're keeping the ball away from him. And I think teams are a little bit more worried about us on the front foot than Leeds on the back foot, obviously. So, yeah, we're dictating the tempo, mate. We're dictating games at the minute. And I look at our nearest rival and the signings they've made in Sheffield United. It doesn't worry me. Just doesn't worry me. So right now, the stats tell the story. We're top of the division. I'm not worried about it. I'm looking at Daniel Farke. This is a guy who's got the most points in the division so far. We can have a different conversation about him being a Premier League manager, but right now in the Championship, he's got the most points in the division ever in Championship history. We are on a very good points tally right now. We've scored the most goals in the division, highest XG, the second least amount of goals in the division. I'm struggling to be in panic mode right now. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
No, I have the same agreement, really. Obviously, I'm not going to be celebrating the fact we haven't made signings, but I think the ultimate thing as well is you got to look at things like financial fair play. Again, another word people don't want to hear, and rightly so. I think financial fair play isn't for the better of the sport, really. I think it just protects the teams in the so-called Big Six. I really do believe that. I think it has. I'm not going to bring in the conspiracy theory here. I'm not going to do a Matt Letizier on you or anything like that. But I do think part of it is to protect the Big Six. And I just think the reality is, for the situation we're in, the fact we didn't go up first time around, we've got to start thinking about things like that. Because if you look at, say, an Aston Villa, back under, before they got promoted out of the league, they were in big trouble. They obviously made big signings, they went for it, and they were very lucky. If Villa hadn't have gone up when they went up, it could have easily been another derby situation for them. It really could have. The margins were that tight. When they had Grealish, Tammy Abraham, players like that in the team, they had to go up that season. Otherwise, it would have been chaotic for them. They might have not recovered from it now, and that's football, isn't it? But for us, it has got to be a consideration. We don't want to put all the eggs into this basket in case we don't get over the line, because then all of a sudden you're looking at a situation where it's 2 years out of the Premier League, parachute payments, financial fair play, players wanting to probably move on at that point. You've got to take all these things into consideration. And, yes, maybe we could have made 1 or 2 signings, but ultimately, if Daniel Farke doesn't want a goalkeeper, he doesn't want a goalkeeper. That is the reality. You can't get into a situation where, as long as we're clear about who's making the decisions, I'm fine by that. I'm fine by that. We'll judge the decisions when it comes to the time, whether that was the right call or the wrong call. But as long as we've got someone making that call and saying, we're not getting a goalkeeper, and that's that. You know what I mean? It's like it became under Orta and Bielsa. Towards the end of Bielsa's reign, it started to become really unclear who was making the call, who was actually in charge of things. We're hearing things about Bielsa was looking at Gvardiol, Orta was looking at Llorente and things like that. That's where you start missing out on players. I think as long as you've got one person making the right end call, and of course, it's not just going to be one person, but the actual final call being made by one person and everyone else having a part in this in terms of the players we actually look at. I'm fine with that, to be honest. And I saw a few people talk about Archer as potentially not even being the plan to be the striker, because he can play at number 10 as well. Potentially Archer was being looked at in more of that kind of regard, a little bit like, say, a Rutter replacement rather than like a actual out-and-out number 9. So whether that was part of it as well, if I still say the same point, if Daniel Farke didn't want a goalkeeper, he didn't want a goalkeeper at this moment in time. That is my view. I have my own opinion on it. You, of course, have your own opinion. I think the majority of fans would say, that is the area where, if we are losing points, it does seem to be in the boxes. It's not. I think in terms of, I'll genuinely say this, in terms of from tee to green, if you like, in that middle third of the pitch, outside of both boxes, I think this Leeds team is utterly dominant. Utterly dominant. I think there's only one game all season. I've said to you on Saturday, there's only one game all season where I've seen Altanaka not win the midfield, and that was against Watford in the second half against Chapter Kadsi, who, when I look at it in terms of January, if we're going to make a January signing, I want it to be someone who makes you go wow kind of thing, like a Chapakadze if he was available, or a Latte Laugh. If they're not available, you're kind of thinking, why not just wait till the summer? If you think this squad's good enough, wait till the summer.
Well,
So
we've
I can see
spoken.
both sides of it.
We've spoken about it on here like throughout the day. I think you've got to be thinking long term as well, haven't you? You've got to be thinking about what Leeds are going to do in the Premier League. It's all well good. You even look at our rivals across the park, really, when you're looking at Rob Holding. And I know a lot of those are signings of which you might look at in the summer months and reevaluate. But Hamza Chowdhury, Ben Brereton Diaz, Tom Cannon. I'm just not looking at, and maybe Enzo Lafi's one, who you kind of look at as a bit of an outlier. But aside from him, I'm just genuinely not looking at it and thinking, oh no, oh God, yeah, we've missed out on that one. I just look at Ramazani, Nonto, Dan James. Like, imagine the statement signing a Dan James would have been in the Championship, Oscar. Imagine a like if someone had signed Dan James this is what I'm talking about right now, and I'm just like, we haven't lost Stroud. Obviously, the Joseph stuff come out at the end, which, God, he's that bad a player, Oscar. He's that shite of a football player.
Real Betis are after him. And by the way, Real Betis have got Barcelona's £40 million signing on the books as a striker on loan. So, the fact that they were looking at Matteo Joseph as a potential replacement for him.
Yeah, it must be us,
he must
mate.
Be a terrible player.
We must be watching a different game, man, because you got all the people in here who apparently not in here, but maybe there might be a few in here who tell me every single frigging day how shite he is as a football player, and he's got Betis offering 10 million quid for him.
I don't think it's a complete article. I still believe that. I still believe Matteo Joseph. Still a lot of areas of his game he can improve, but in terms of the fundamental, and I got that word in. I saw someone. I think Bob was saying, why is Oscar not said fundamental yet? 19 minutes in, maybe a new record. But fundamentally, what Matteo Joseph offers in terms of his profile, physically, his actual CV this young, in terms of what he's done in his career so far. Yes, I know the standard he's playing at maybe isn't as high, but the fact Spain, we're talking about here.
It won't stop, Oscar. It won't
stop. This is Spain considering an option. Yeah, we were looking at the talent that Spain has coming through at this moment in time. It's not so bad. The fact that you look at, say, Kubasi, Dean House, and players like that, coming through, and then looking at Matteo Joseph and saying, right, we need to fast track him. I'm not saying he's at that standard, by the way, as those two players. I'm not saying that at all. But the fact he's been considered, shows that
Oscar, he's not good enough for a Championship automatic battle, though. He's not good enough for that second string striker. Let's bear in mind, he's just not good enough, mate. Not good enough. FFS says frustrating again with getting hopes up for Archer, just like Salai. Yeah, Salai was a bit frustrating at the back end as well, but I think we'd kind of sorted it out a little bit towards the end anyway. But you know what our fans are like, lose to Coventry. Yeah, Oscar, we got to bear this in mind. We know what's coming if we did lose to Coventry.
Mate, the next 4 games are horrible. I'm not going to lie. I look at them, 3 away games, Coventry and Watford, 2 really tough games for us last season. I know Watford aren't maybe in the best moment, but that's a tough place to go, Watford. They have got players in those forward areas. Yes, I know they're not on a great run, but they score goals, they concede goals. Games are quite end-to-end, and they've got the players to play that. Chapakadze in an end-to-end game with space to, pick out passes is a massive threat.
But isn't this the whole point? Like, isn't this the whole point? And this might resonate with a lot of people. Have Watford got Ramazani, Nonto, James, Solomon, Peru, Joseph, Tanaka? Like, I know what you're saying, Oscar. Chapatadze is
I personally have him in that bracket. I genuinely do think he's that good. There's only one player. There's only one player though.
I'd have him in the balance. I'd have him in the bracket 100%. But back to front, it's no competition.
No.
This is the thing right now. I get to the end and I'm a little bit like, I know football's not played on paper a lot of the time, Oscar, but 90% of the time, mate, as we know, me and you've spoken about this, football is played on paper. It 100% is played on paper. Look, so you go down to Watford. Sheffield United have done the business with a patched up squad. Preston have done the business. QPR have done the business. I understand Leeds is a bigger game. I get it's a bigger game. But you keep to your standards, you keep to expectation, you keep to the quality that you have, you win that game. It's quite simple. It's a championship fixture. I understand Watford's difficult. I completely get that. I'm not being arrogant and naive and ignorant to Watford's qualities. They're physical, they're athletic, they're a quick team. They've got players on that counter-attack. I think Bayo's gone, hasn't he? But Bar's is still there. Chafatadze, they've got a lot of good operators at that level. They should not be on the same level as Leeds United. So let's we can big all these sides up 100%. I understand. I completely get Leeds United don't play this way. You look at the back end of last season. Did we have a better 11 than we won 3 games in 11, for goodness sake?
Well, I mean, it was both those games last season though. Watford in that Good Friday game, Coventry just after that.
But Oscar, I look at it and I think the balance is just so much better now. I think the balance, and we've seen that in the first half of the season.
I agree.
You've seen Gruev and you've seen Ampadu when they were out and everybody was in panic stations. Rothwell and Tanaka come straight in. Tanaka, who's been abroad, Bundesliga 2, comes straight in, slots in. Rothwell, who's barely played a minute really for Southampton last season, comes in, slots straight in. This is a whole thing right now. This is where I kind of think like there needs to be a bit of a calming. There is rotation everywhere. I think the only one that I'd be slightly worried about is maybe the left-sided centre-back if Verber's not fit. If Verber is fit, and Oscar, I'll be honest with you right now, between me and you and the 2024 who are watching across all platforms, I'm very much like, will Verber's injury record now suddenly get a little bit better? Now we're out of January.
Well.
That is a conversation to something, because Verber's injury record has never been this bad. It's never in his career. I look on Transfermarkt at his injury record. It's never been this bad. So suddenly, if we see a little upturn in his record, I don't mind an Austrian centre back on that left-sided bracket if he's in there for maybe 4 or 5 games. Worst case scenario, hopefully, touch wood, as opposed to Pascal, because we know Pascal picks up a lot of injuries. But then third worst case scenario, Oscar, you put Ampadu back there. And I know it's not ideal, but I think Ampadu being back there at centre-back in comparison to Gruev and Kamara being in there, as in comparison right now to Rothwell and Tanaka being in there, is a completely different situation. And I think the rotations out wide are lovely right now. James is outperforming what he did last season. You've seen this season Manor Solomon come in and drastically improve to what he did the first half of the season, with rotations of Ramazani and Nonto being in there, both on an upturn right now with a goal from Nonto. Ramazani coming back into selection, looking a little bit like his old self. Joseph, okay.
It is. I was just going to say with Joseph, it is actually wild that we talk about the centre forward situation and the discourse around Joseph, that a Spanish first division team, the Liga team, with the Liga, there's not tons of money in La Liga at this moment in time. It's difficult to spend money in La Liga. The FFP rules are much stricter. Just to give a bit of background to this, Real Betis, to put a bid in like that, yes, I know it's not earth shattering. But you've got to be so careful how you spend money in La Liga now, because the FFP rules are so much stricter, twice as strict, maybe 3 times as strict as the Premier League. If you get a wrong signing and lose money on the signing, you are incredibly limited in FFP. So Real Betis were pretty certain on Matteo Joseph. They weren't just looking at Matteo Joseph to just be a rotation player, put it that way. There is no way any La Liga team is spending 8 or 10 million in this moment in time with the climate of the league on a rotation player. That's just to give a bit of background to it. It wasn't just a case of, there is no way, honestly, trust me here, guys, there is no way this was just a signing where Real Betis said, oh, we need to put a striker on the bench. That does not happen in the Liga at this moment in time. They were pretty committed on that, if we're looking at it on paper.
Yeah, I kind of went into this window, and if you're getting Darlow in there, not ideal, but I was okay with that ahead of Ilan Mele. But going into this window, if we went and got another goalkeeper, I was absolutely fine. I woke up this morning, we did a morning stream, Oscar. I know you won't believe this, mate, but 3 hours and 30 minutes long. Crazy, I know, but we did one this morning. And the guys and girls were asking me about Archer. They were asking me about a few other names as well. And I turned around and said, look, I'd kibosh all that and put it in the bin for a goalkeeper. I'd kibosh that, put it all in the bin for a long-term option in Victor Johansson. And we don't need to talk about what Victor Johansson brings. We know he's incrementally improving year upon year. Rotherham, then Stoke, then there's going to be Premier League clubs coming in for him in the summer months, 100%, especially with his valuation at Stoke City. For me, that would have been the obvious improvement. Look, we've said that on this channel. You've been part of this channel for 3, 4, 5 years. That's nothing new. They and Farke has called him the best goalkeeper in the Championship last season. He evidently still rates him. I've told you this before, mate, from a tiny little bit of what I've heard, which is not a lot at all. The goalkeeping staff still think there's something there with Illan Meslier. They don't want to replace Illan Meslier, which is absolutely fine. That's by their own admission. And maybe that's a collective problem in terms of the 49ers and Daniel Farke, who still think there's something there. But there is a little bit of a problem there. And if they improved on that tiny little incremental margin in terms of the goalkeeper, I think Leeds United, going into the second half of the season, would win this division by a country mile. I now look at that and I'm a little bit, I don't know if it's going to be closer than what people are thinking. But I think that's a collective thing. That I think that's the ownership, and I think that's the manager at the minute. I mean, what's your thoughts on the goalkeeper?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think fundamentally, as I said before, in terms of our opinions on the goalkeeper situation, yes, I think we've all got opinions on that. But fundamentally, the key thing is, if say someone at Leeds thought, yeah, we need to upgrade the goalkeeper situation, and another person said, absolutely not. Another person was a bit more on the fence. Fundamentally, as long as everyone agrees on the same path, that concerns me a lot less. As long as there's no disagreements there in terms of fundamentally what we're doing, as long as everyone's on the same page, I'm happy. If that makes sense, as long as everyone is on the same page, as you've said, if it is a case of they still see something in Illan Meslier, they still see something in Illan Meslier. Now, look, that could, many will say that would go on to be the wrong decision, but we'll have to see how it goes. Obviously, for me, I think Carl Rushworth was the one I was looking at and thinking, in terms of the fact that he is only on Brighton's bench now. I think the reality is he's not going to get ahead of Bart Verbruggen at any time soon, really. I think he's a top-class goalkeeper. I think he's going to struggle to really take him out of the team unless Verbruggen gets a big move. And I think that's probably what Brighton are preparing for. Similar with Evan Ferguson to an extent, when João Pedro gets another big move, that is kind of how Brighton think and how they Brighton operate. They always want to have someone who's ready-made to fill in that spot. So I did think the potential on paper, again, I've no idea what Carl Rushworth's contract situation or the long-term development plan is with Carl Rushworth, but he would have been the one I looked at and thought, good with his feet, good shot stopper, local as well. He's actually from near Leeds as well, which, again, it's only a small thing, but it's something I quite like as well. Understanding how big Leeds United is, to a bit of a character as well, Carl Rushworth, from what I've heard. So that might have been one where we could have gone for that potentially. But listen, if the club and Daniel Farke didn't want to go for a goalkeeper, then that's the right call. We've had spells in the last 10, 15 years where Massimo Cellino has been signing players for Leeds and the manager doesn't even know who they are. The manager doesn't know who they are. They just turn up out of nowhere kind of thing. We've had this under Cellino, some chaotic recruitment under Victor Orta and Thomas Christensen. We've had a lot of chaos over the years. And at the time, we've called for, what we're kind of seeing right now. And listen, I'm not saying what we're doing right now is 100% the right thing. I still think we should have probably signed more players. But it's one of those, I don't want to say the words careful what you wish for, but if the manager didn't want a goalkeeper and then we go and sign a goalkeeper, yes, maybe it does gain us points from, Meslier not making mistakes, the same mistakes in the second half of the season. But you got to look at it from that point of view as well. Fundamentally, if the manager, listen, some clubs, it's not the manager who has the final say on recruitment. It's a recruitment team. At Leeds, to me, with the title that Daniel Farke has, it seems like Daniel Farke has the final say. That's fine. But if Daniel Farke's having the final say and he doesn't want a goalkeeper, you've got to go with that. If it's the wrong decision, Daniel Farke will be criticised at the end of the season, and we'll probably have to, justify that decision at the end of the season.
I mean, no, I agree with you, man. I mean, you look.
I think we should have got a goalkeeper, by the way.
I agree with the goalkeeper. I think if Farke had that much of a look, there's a lot of you in the chat who are going on about the goalkeeper, and I completely understand that. But Oscar's bang on.
I think it's harsh for the 49ers for that. Is what I'm saying.
I do. I think it's really harsh as well. And you look, the 49ers this, 49ers that. But
what do you want them to do? Sign a player that the manager doesn't want just for the sake of signing a player?
Exactly. And that's kind of what I was referring to as well. I've mentioned this on the earlier streams as well. We mentioned this on the post-match, and we mentioned this on WhatsApp groups as well. If Farke didn't like Illan Meslier, what do you think of the 49ers going to do? They're just going to go and sign a goalkeeper if Farke doesn't want one. Farke was one of the ones who wanted Carl Darlow in and was gassing him up right at the beginning when Leeds brought him in. Oh, he's an experienced number two. He's one of the best goal number twos in the division, yada, yada, yada. You know, you bring someone like Carl Darlow in, you expect him, if the goalkeeper number one is failing, if he's not doing well, Carl Darlow then comes in. The manager isn't dropping Ilan Meslier and there's no insinuation. He's come out in a press conference after Meslier has chucked 3 goals in against Hull City, and he said he's not going to drop him. Carl Darlow will come in against Harrogate, but he's put his full confidence and his full backing into Ilan Meslier. That is not a 49ers issue. That is Daniel Farke will not drop him. Best believe there is more chance of Leeds United going out and getting a number one if Daniel Farke puts the number one onto the bench for 4 weeks during the January window. If Daniel Farke doesn't put the goalkeeper on the bench for the full January window and makes a statement, then they're not going to go out and get one. If Farke's turning around and saying the same insinuation as he was doing last year, when statistically the goalkeeper was nowhere near the best goalkeeper in the division, but you were getting certain people and Daniel Farke saying he was the best keeper in the division, then he's not going to, the 49ers are not going to go out and then just go and get another number one goalkeeper. No. Why would you go over the manager's head, put out that financial, outlay to a team, go out and do contractual discussions with a side and the player and the agent and say, do you know what? You come to Leeds United, but by the way, we're not sure the manager's going to drop the starting goalkeeper because he's already said a couple of months ago that he's the best goalkeeper in the division, even though we know he's not. But just come in anyway, and we might be able to convince him. That is never going to happen in a month of Sundays.
And it shouldn't happen. It shouldn't happen.
And this is why I cannot understand it. Sometimes there are so many fans who look, I understand it. I get it's subjective, but are so far it's the Farke way or nothing. They are not willing to just take themselves back a little bit and actually look at what's going on. There is no way, if Farke doesn't sanction the goalkeeper being out of the side during the January months, mate, after the Sunderland game, he literally cost us the Sunderland game. Next game he's playing. Portsmouth game, there was an argument for him to be dropped after that. What was it? Was it the second or third goal where it just goes straight through? And there's an argument for him to be dropped after that, especially what the manager said about Carl Darlow being a more than adequate replacement. He doesn't do that. He's not done that. He's not dropped him once. So Farke rates Meslier. So for all of you lot who were saying, 49 is this, 49 is that, the manager will not drop him. So
that's it. I mean,
going to drop him. The 49ers are not going to advocate that. It's not going to
happen.
But
I mean, you look at it. It's two separate issues. This, the thing is here. So you can have an opinion. By all means, listen. I personally think Meslier is someone we can upgrade on. I think we've mentioned different goalkeepers here and there. But if Daniel Farke rates Ilan Meslier, and listen, Daniel Farke, at the end of the day, we are top of the table. We are 5 points clear. Statistically, we are absolutely dominating the league. I'm happy, more than happy to go with that judgment. Everyone's got their own opinions. That is the reality. Are we going to be in that position come the end of the season? No one knows. There's still 16 games to go. There's still a third of the season still to go. But it is two separate issues.
Oscar, just to disrupt you here, mate, and this isn't just arguing with the chat, Ellen Back. You're absolutely fine with the disruption conversation there, mate. This is not on Farke. He openly said he wanted 3. When has he ever said in the January window he wants 3? That's never happened. He's never said in a press conference he wants 3 players. We do need a GK, but we've been promoted with Meslier before. But it's a completely different team. It's a completely different setup. It's a completely different league. It's a completely different manager. What does that mean?
At the end of the day, you've got to look at it like this, okay? If people are saying in the sense of the 49ers should be going over Daniel Farke's head and going for Meslier or going for this striker or going for that player, the 49ers can't do that. No football club that's well run is going to do that. It's just not going to happen. Yeah, you either do one or two things. You stick with Daniel Farke's judgment because at the end of the day, we have built one of the best squads this division's ever seen, and that has been a lot of that has been under Daniel Farke's recruitment over the last 18 months. Yes, we haven't got everything right. Yes, there has been a Jed Spence situation, a Connor Roberts situation. Maybe Jaden Anthony could have been played more. Maybe Isaac Schmidt at this moment in time could be played more. Largely Ramazani maybe could be played more. There's different bits and pieces, but fundamentally, you're not going to get every signing right. Not every signing is going to get straight into the manager's team and different bits and pieces like this. But fundamentally, the 49ers have either got to back Farke's judgment or change Farke's role and lead the recruitment to a recruitment team. That shouldn't be done either. I don't see how the 49ers can be blamed for things like this. Having said that, if the manager did want signings and we weren't able to get them, then that's possibly a different conversation. But as I keep saying, trying to improve this Leeds team compared to the rest of the league is difficult. I don't want to use a Formula One analogy, but I will do. I will use a Formula One analogy, okay? If for any Formula One fans out there, when you see Red Bull win 20 races out of 21 or whatever it was a couple of years ago, it's a lot harder for them to improve than it is for McLaren or Ferrari or Mercedes. And that's the reality. That is the situation we are in. On brand as well, using Red Bull as the example, by the way. That was appreciated. But that is the case. Pick any sport. Liverpool haven't done any business. It's a lot more difficult for Liverpool to improve their team than it is for Arsenal, than it is for Man City, because they are better at this moment in time. I would much rather be a good team now than relying on a fantastic January transfer window that might make us good. Listen, Burnley have signed Marcus Edwards. Marcus Edwards is going to be going into a team that defends in a low block and isn't expansive. I don't think that particularly suits Marcus Edwards, by the way. I think he's going to improve Burnley, but is one player going to suddenly make Burnley this coherent attacking team that's going to score loads of goals? I don't think it is. I think it's a mindset thing with Burnley. Sheffield United, Tom Cannon, Ben Brereton, Hamza Chowdhury, Rob Holding. Yeah, solid championship players. But are those players going to really make Sheffield United an expansive attacking football team that's going to play wonderful football and all of a sudden be able to go toe-to-toe with Leeds? I don't think it is. I think it's just a reality. The championship is, the gap between the championship and the Premier League has never been bigger. We're in a situation now where, yes, people are talking about Buendia. Fair enough. These players don't want to drop into the championship anymore. The championship is not an attractive league to play in. We want to get out of it desperately for a reason, because we don't want to play in this league. If we don't want to play in this league, why are players from the Premier League going to want to play in this league? You got to look at it from a different point of view. Listen, if we were in a situation where we needed signings and we haven't done it, I'd be a lot more critical. But we're in a situation where we have, a second team as well that could, people like Max Verber, as you mentioned, they've hardly played any football this season. They can't get in the team.
Okay, let's do a little balancing act then. So, when I've listened to every single press conference he's done, I've never got this narrative. However, it's fair to say that there is a creative offensive player, a number 10. It's definitely something that could be beneficial. Brendan Aronson is excellent, a key player for us, but we don't have a similar player. We have players that can play in this role, Joel Peru or a winger, but it is different. If there is a solution for a creative player, it makes sense for us to stay awake.
If you got to note that if bit in there.
It makes sense for us to stay awake if there is a solution. Okay, so I'm like, this is the thing. This is why I was pulling people to this, because it's very different. Daniel Farke coming out, and he said this in every single point that. There we go. Sorry, mate. He's made this in every single bit that he's put up there. If there is a statement, if there is a statement signing for us to make there. So the players that we've been linked this window, Emi Buendia.
He's gone to Bayer Leverkusen. He's gone to Bayer Leverkusen. He's playing with Flavian Wirtz. It wasn't. This is what I mean. It's like we're not going to beat Bayer Leverkusen to a signing at this moment in time.
So this is what I mean. If you read a lot of the article that I was just reading in particular, where it's the quotes, it is we will assess the centre back and striker positions if there is enough significant quality to come in and they have the right character and attitude to come in and they will fit the lineup, then we will look at that potential solution. Like, that is very different to Leeds just going, we're going to sign 3 players, and Farke coming out and just going, we need 3 players. He's not saying that. It has to be the right body. If Buendia doesn't want to come to Leeds United, which, guys, look, reality, he doesn't want to come to Leeds. We know this. He doesn't want to make that drop down. I spoke to a Villa lad. He said he does not want to make that drop down. Ideally, wouldn't want to come to Leeds. He had 2 options, Valencia or Bayer Leverkusen. He's picked one of them. So that was the only cam we've.
Can I just say, this Buendia thing didn't come out the blue either. That was clear quite early on as well. I don't think we were ever. I don't know for sure, obviously, but I don't think we were ever under the impression we were ever going to get Buendia. I don't think that was ever. It's not a case of we're being let down. That literally Bayer Leverkusen and Valencia came in for him. It was difficult.
Yeah. Let's get a few of your comments in. FFS says frustrating again. Getting hopes up for Archer, just like Salah. Yeah, I've mentioned that, mate. Evening, Connor. No GK, then no, mate. Jazz says very disappointed with the transfer window. Will Farker ever play Schmidt? Too many people are getting carried away about the.
But that's another thing, though. If you look at Isaac Schmidt, for example, that is a player who can't get into the team, as it is now. Without I didn't, extra. I'm just looking, I don't know where Connor's disappeared to now. Connor's, I was going to say what I was going to say.
Do you want to do this now? Do you want to do? I just. Do you want to take over?
No, I'm just saying that we've got a situation where Isaac Schmidt's not playing much football. Wilfred Nonto's not playing much football. Ramazani's not actually playing much football. Probably one of Joe Rothwell and Eli Gruev isn't going to play a lot of football. We've already got a situation where there's a lot of footballers in this Leeds team not playing much football. I don't think we can just go and listen. I think you got to look at it from that point of view as well. Yes, I would have liked maybe a striker because that's a situation where if a Perot or Joseph massively loses form or picks up an injury, we would be a bit short there. But I'm not being funny. Largely Ramazani can probably play up top in this league, such as the quality he's got.
It's how I'm feeling. Yeah, that's how I feel.
It's hardly a bad situation to be in.
Just sometimes it's as if I get it if we're in four. Like at this point last season, I think we had 60 points. I think we're fourth in the division. We're behind Southampton, Ipswich, and Leicester, and they're miles ahead. I get it. And I get if we hadn't have got the best, currently we've got the best goal difference I think we've ever had at this stage in the season, ever in our history. We've scored 60 goals. The second amount of goals right now is Borough, and they're a game ahead of us. And I think they're like 9 or 10 behind us in terms of goals. Jeez, scared me to death. Thank you. I just think it's one of those right now where it's as if we're not scoring goals. Like we are absolutely. I mean, we
didn't score against Burnley. That's not. Yeah, we've not scored. We've not scored one game without a goal.
Imagine if any other team at this level, even like a Burnley, imagine a Sheffield United right now or a Sunderland, how confident they'd be if they've just beaten a side who were unbeaten in 8 and we just beaten them 7-0. We've just we've just got the highest XG in the past 5 years across Europe, including PSG. I think PSG against Guingamp was the only outlier where they won 9-0. Like, don't get me wrong, I understand it, but going forward is the least of my concerns. The problem is the guy at the back, the goalkeeper, just throws the ball in. Aside from that, like Archer, yeah, it would have been nice. Don't get me wrong, he would have been nice. But the fact Joseph's got off the mark, Peru's the second top scorer in the division. Look, two things can be true. You can rate Joseph and you can rate Peru. There can be two different strikers, of which I do. They're different. Don't get me wrong. Would I rather start Joseph in games? Yes. But do I really appreciate what Peru brings? Yes. And I can understand why they start him, of course. And Peru's a better finisher right now, has to be said. But the options that we have across the pitch, like people, I keep saying this, man, like, and Brownie disagreed to an extent. But Cam, that's probably the stretch of which I'd look at a central attacking midfielder and think, yeah, we need another one in there. Don't get me wrong. But there is a refusal to play any of the wingers in the cam. So if there's a refusal to play any of the wingers in the cam, then there's going to have to be a demand on it. But I think they could play one of the wings in the cam. I think there's a tendency.
I agree. I still believe, over these next 16 games, at some point, Manuel Solomon will go into that number 10 spot and Large Ramazani will go onto the left wing. I'm not saying it'll be from the start of the game, and you'll see magic, in terms of that, because I think those two players suit each other's game so well that I look at it and say, if Large Ramazani is not getting in your team, you've got incredible depth. If you're in a situation where you can have a player like that on your bench in the second division, you're in a good spot. You're in a good spot. If Sunderland, okay, let's take Sunderland for example, okay. If Mundell never got injured, okay, and they had a situation where they've already got a left winger, they would still find a way to get Large Ramazani into the team. Burnley would still find a way to get Large Ramazani into the team, and they'd be desperate to get him into the team anyway. We're not in that situation. We can afford to have players. Junior Firpo just got 3 assists on Saturday. He won't get in the team before Saturday. It's just, this is what I don't want is excuses being made from this January window. This Leeds team
Mate,
has more than
mate.
got enough to get
We
promoted.
know. This is it. This is it now. This is it. This is it. I've had it in the streams.
It's not an excuse. I'm sorry.
Not
It's
Farke's
not an
fault now.
excuse.
It's not. It's here we go, and this is it. This is the narrative that'll get pushed now. The 49ers, it's their fault. They've not backed him. They've not done this, even though you can do. So apparently, you have to do winter business to supplement your summer business every single time. You just can't get it spot on in the
Oh,
summer.
Liverpool are in trouble then.
Yeah, well, Liverpool are in trouble. That's exactly what I've said to a pal off. One of my mates, Leeds fan, season ticket holder, he messaged me. Well, we had a conversation a little bit earlier on. He went, mate, I might come on your show. He went, because right now Liverpool are in trouble, aren't they? They've not made a single signing. So now we're in trouble as well because we've not made a single signing. I said it on the 28th of December. As soon as this starts happening, this is going to get peddled that we are in trouble. We're in massive trouble now. I mean, when in January have we ever been 5 points clear with the goal difference we've got, which acts as a different point? The players 100% are accountable. Of course they are, but I ain't letting the gaffer off. We ain't. I not on this
even
channel.
so much that.
It's not.
Yeah.
I'm not pointing because I don't want this to be construed as if Oscar, I'm pointing at the manager. It's all your fault if we don't get promoted. Of course, it's a collective thing. You might get 2 or 3 players who are off it on the day when we need to play well. We need to act. That's a player thing. It's not a Daniel Farke thing. Right now, he's doing a good job. But with all the artillery he has at his disposal, which, by the way, is more artillery than he had at his disposal at Norwich in both.
Every single player on that bench on Saturday would have started in this Norwich team.
100%.
Every single one.
Mate, 100%. All the way down to Brendan Aronson, who apparently is the one that needs to be rotated. He'd have been put ahead of Stiepermann. I'm convinced of it. So, look, it's one of those right now where every single player in this Leeds United side would get into any other side in this top 6. I'm convinced of it.
Yeah.
That bench is a joke. When you get Isaac Schmidt, who's not being able to be put in that side because of the quality that we've got on our bench, and you've now got Strauch, who's going to be back into the side, Nampert, who's going to be back into midfield, which puts up another conundrum again. Look, we're having a mad conversation here of Leeds United's quality being too much, and we're arguing, we're having a debate, we're upset at each other. We've just won 7-0. We've got a mad goal difference, and we're 5 points clear of Burnley. But apparently it's the worst window ever. Unbelievably bad. I cannot get my head around it. And the problem is we've been scorned from previous ownerships and previous years. That's what it is. We have to look at what's happened. In the Norwich game, there was a rotation of the full central midfield. The full central midfield had to be rotated. You put Rothwell and Tanaka in there. They then went on to dominate the midfield against Sunderland and Sheffield United. When you get the full rotation of the wingers, we're still dominating the midfield out wide and producing numbers. We've had injuries across the park from Strauch to Ramazani to Nonto to James in games. Even to Peru, who's been out for a game or 2 this season. We've had injuries across the park and we've been able to rotate. I cannot understand it, mate.
Colin, we're already struggling to get minutes to Ramazani and Nonto as it is. Nonto, I mean, look at his first touch against Cardiff. This guy can't get in the team. He's had a couple of months of poor form, and now he can't get in the team because the standard is that high across it. Listen, I wanted Cameron Archer to sign because I think Cameron Archer is a brilliant footballer who should be playing in the team. But
it's a want. Oscar. It's a want, not a need.
But the other thing is with that, had you signed Cameron Archer, where's the minutes of Matteo Joseph? This fantastic talent you've got in your squad. And I know the focus at the minute is promotion, and that has to be the priority. And it's side before self. It absolutely is. But you got to look at the future as well and think, Matteo Joseph, the time for his minutes is now, not the Premier League, because it'll be a lot more difficult to develop Matteo Joseph in the Premier League than it would in the Championship. And if you sign him, so it's not just a case of you sign Cameron Archer, all your potential issues are solved. It's not that at all. It's in terms of, does Cameron Archer fit into the team straight away? It's not a given. That's not a given at all. Enzo Lefebvre, for example, this is his first game I've seen of Enzo Lefebvre where I thought, he played well tonight. I still don't think he played anywhere near to the standards that he can play at. And it might be the same with Marcus Edwards. I think it's been the same with Ben Brereton. I think it's been the same with Tom Cannon. It is just reality. January is not a good window. It's not a good window. There's been so many successful teams. What did Leicester do last January? Leicester did nothing in January. We keep talking about Ipswich's January business. Other than Kiefer Moore, what other signings did they make that made a big impact? Sarmiento keeps getting mentioned to me. Sarmiento wasn't even starting in this Ipswich team. He was coming off the bench the odd time. And you actually look at the numbers from him. Yes, sometimes he has some nice cameos. It wasn't really making a massive, massive difference. Ali Al Hamadi as well, who signed from Wimbledon. Again, he didn't really make that much of a difference. Yes, he was a very, very useful third striker, but it wasn't the difference. He wasn't the difference between promotion and no promotion. So
but mate, just a bit of reality as well. Just bringing it in as well. Sheffield United. So we're bringing in what? So we've had the most goals from substitutions, right, in the division so far this year. Okay, so you can say Daniel Farke's done a good job there in terms of utilising substitutions, which I 100% say. But there's a culmination there in terms of individual quality as well, coming off the bench and being able to influence games like you saw with William Johnson at the weekend, who literally with his first touch, he's taking 4 touches, then rifling the ball into the bottom corner with his left foot. Like, that's the technical ability you've got on your bench. Sheffield United right now are bringing on a Jesserin Raksaki, who, by the way, look, we all wanted him pre-season. We're all looking at him and thinking, my God, this would be a great signing. He's been woeful. He's been absolutely woeful at this moment in time. Sidney Peck is coming on. And Sam
just to say with Raksaki, he's their only natural winger as well, by the way.
He's their only natural winger, maybe Andre Brooks, but yeah, 100%.
Sorry, yeah.
I'm not 100% sure that Wilder's sold on him because he's not consistently bringing him on. And then you got Sam McCallum, Sidney Peck. Right, let's go across the board as well. Okay, tonight, Sunderland, and I know they've got injuries coming back. Oscar, I'm going to go full screen for this. Sunderland are bringing on Ian Poveda.
Yeah. Ian Poveda, who...
Right. So Sunderland are bringing on Ian Poveda. So they've got Mundle coming back. I understand that 100%, and that'll change things. Mayenda, Samed, an average age of those two, is 19. Burnley are bringing on Ashley Barnes and Hannibal. And in that squad as well, they've now got Edwards, which is a massive differential, but 2 teams have to go up, everybody. Two teams have to go up, and maybe that is going to be Burnley. Maybe that's going to be Sheffield United or Sunderland. But what I'm talking about here is when you're bringing on Ramazani, Nonto, Joseph, you've got Strauch on your bench, you've got Verber on your... It's just... I think we have to bring an element of calmness here. And I know it's me getting erratic, but it's because it's turning into this toxic blame game again. It's not a blame game. 2 things can be true. The 49ers can be doing a good job and Farke can be doing a good job. That can happen right now. And as a fan base, I cannot understand when you're 5 points clear in the division, when all the metrics, big chances created, XG, we have conceded the I think it's the second least goals in the division right now as well, above Sheffield United, and we've got a guy who throws the ball into the net every 2 minutes. Every metric is going for Leeds United right now. I fully believe that this is going to work out because stats, trends, and patterns work out in the end quantitatively. That's normally what happens. If it doesn't, lead to book the trend. Fair enough. But right now, Oscar, it feels like it's all going the right direction, and you've just got to believe in that. And then in the summer, we can go and do what we're going to do. But I ain't going into this thing right now. West Brom apparently are going out and signing Adam Armstrong right now. They've scored 39 goals. They need to go out and sign Adam Armstrong. We've scored 60 goals. We've scored 60 goals. Like, do you imagine if we continue this to the back end of the season, mate? How many goals we're going to be on? It's mental.
Absolutely. And listen, I still think this Leeds team's got another gear to find. I still believe that. And I think traditionally you tend to see Daniel Farke teams, this is their stage of the season. Around this point, just after the January transfer window, where they do tend to put together ridiculous runs. We've just won 7-0. And yeah, we've got a really difficult run of games coming up. But I promise you now, I'm not going to be two-faced about this. I'm not going to, at any point this season, no matter what happens this season, I'm not going to suddenly turn around and say the January window is what's caused the issues for Leeds. I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it because Leeds United have got the best footballer in this league, in their team, in Al Tanaka. I think by far the best player in the league. It seems weird saying the midfielder is the best player in the league, but I just think the level he produces, what he can do with a football at his feet is just absolutely incredible. I think it's at a level above every single other player in this league for me. And his all-round game as well. That's someone the 49ers signed for a cheap fee. And listen, as we signed Al Tanaka for 20 million, you just said great business. The fact we signed him even cheaper, that almost seems to work against the 49ers. The fact that they didn't massively overpay for Al Tanaka, they didn't massively overpay for Largi Ramazani. Because we do smart business, it gets criticised. But listen, the best team in Europe does smart business as well. Liverpool do smart business. We're not in a situation where we're in the mess here. This is a team I've not known Leeds compared to the rest of the rest of the league have this dominant a squad.
But
Honestly,
can I just say as well? Can I just say, where was Peru playing at the weekend? We've had this chat, me and Brownie. Where was he playing? He wanted 9. He
it
wanted
was
9 towards the
free
back end
roll.
of that game.
Free roll.
He was literally free roaming in that game in a number 10 role, and it's arguably the best game Peru has played this season. I thought he was massively influential. That is arguably the best game he's played this season.
And Macho Joseph scored with him and Pereira on the pitch at the same time. In fact, they both scored with each other.
Him and Peru, if you watch one of the centre backs as well, he's attracted to Peru, which, oh my God, means there's space for Matteo Joseph to manoeuvre, believe it or not, and it works. Wow, a 2 up top, believe it or not, everybody. A shadow striker and one who's leading the line. Wow, unbelievable, I know. So you've got that. So naturally, even if you do not want to play Solomon, if you don't want to play Nonto, if you don't want to play Ramazani in that number 10, of which, by the way, you even just look at Ramazani and in that central role, absolutely destroyed Sheffield United, our main competitor this season. And they were all coming out and saying how much in that central role he destroyed them at the early part of the season. Willie Gnonto, who took apart their counterparts in Sheffield Wednesday at Hillsborough in that central role earlier on this season as well. The tendencies that Solomon has in that midfield role as well. Low centre of gravity, lovely balance, good shot efficiency with both feet, could work in that number 10 role, transitional attributes. But if you don't want to do that, you can always lean on Joel Peru. Bear in mind, Oscar, Aronson's apparently going to get injured for 50 games. That's it. That's the narrative right now. Aronson's going to get injured. Right, okay, well, Aronson's injured, and you just drop Peru back a little bit, and you put Joseph into that number 10. If you do not want to go wingers into that number 10, fine. Don't do that. Put Peru, which you've done last season, put him in that number 10. And that's probably going to work a little bit better with a lead number 9 in Matteo Joseph, as opposed to 2 number 10s in reality, or 2 9.5s in Rutter and Peru, which never worked. You've never consistently put Peru and Joseph together. You do that, you might see the fruits of your labor. Right now, you haven't tried it. So you cannot see that. And at the weekend, it worked. Cardiff didn't know what to do. Once again, a Cardiff side who defensively have been pretty good recently and are unbeaten in 8. So this whole narrative that, Aronson gets injured, it's the worst case scenario, we don't know what to do. It will be fine if Aronson gets injured. And does this mean that Aronson's going to be out for the whole season? Why is he suddenly injured for the remainder of the season? You know, I heard this earlier on, Oscar. Peru, what happens if he gets injured? Hold on, he's been available for 74 games out of 76 under Daniel Farke.
You can say that argument for any footballer in. You can. You could beat an Argentina fan going into this World Cup and say, "What if Messi gets injured? He gets injured." Footballers get injuries. It's a physical sport. They're playing more football than they've ever played. It's a reality of it. It can happen. But you're not going to be able to sign a number 10. Say if Daniel Farke. Listen, Brendan Aronson is clearly Daniel Farke's number 10. There's no question about that at all. But if you're going to try and sign a 10 and then say, okay, at first you're going to be back up to Matt and Brendan Aronson, you've got to prove yourself. That's not going to be, and I'm not saying that's the wrong thing to say, because that's probably the reality. We've got to the top of the league. Brendan Aronson leading the press. I think he's our second top scorer, etc., etc. Yes, he's been inconsistent, all these different bits and pieces, but he's clearly someone Daniel Farke likes. If you're going to try and sign a 10, and listen, footballers aren't stupid, by the way. As much as everyone wants to portray footballers as being, players not understanding, economics, footballers have never been more intelligent in terms of, understanding the economics of the game and how things work. They will not be stupid. They will know they're not going to play football. Say if Leeds had gone for Enzo Lefebvre at the same time as Sunderland, Enzo Lefebvre would know he's much more likely to play football every single week at Sunderland than he was at Leeds. It's just the reality.
Just before, mate, and I just want to say this as well, mate. What I'm doing right now is I'm passionately trying to give you guys, it's not a lecture whatsoever. I can see what Leeds, North Carolina is, and I apologize if it's coming over like that. A little bit of self-reflection after this. I might look back and think, Connor, you knobhead. But I'll be brutally honest with you. It's not a lecture, guys. It's almost just like a rallying call for us all to get together and for us to believe in what goes on now. We can all have different opinions. Football's subjective. One can have one argument to the other. Of course they can. But my overriding point here, when we're talking about the microcosm here of why people are upset, we want more. Well, why do you want more? When you actually delve into the specifics of why we want more, in my personal opinion, it doesn't make a lot of sense. I understand it, but a lot of it is hysteria. I feel that's what I kind of, I understand it's subjective. You might have a different opinion to me. I completely understand that, but I'm not yelling at the fans for wanting more. I'm passionately delivering why we should all be on the same page when it comes to us going forward now. It's the back end of January. We're into February right now. We have got 16 games left. 16 games left, of which these scenarios, Leeds, North Carolina, are being put to me and Oscar and Brownie and everybody. We're getting put these scenarios as if X player is going to be out for. So what if Vinny Souza gets injured? What if Josh Brownhill gets injured? What if Marcus Edwards comes in and gets injured for 5 games? Do we have the right rotation to be able to deal with what we have for the majority of the squad? Probably 95, 100%, 98% of the squad we do. Do they have the rotation options to deal with 95, 98% of their squad getting injured? No, they don't. They don't. They literally don't.
No.
We have the most depth in quality. They don't have that. So for me, it's very much trying to look at it logistically and passionately deliver that. I'm not saying you're wrong here, by the way, guys. I'm 100% not. But this whole notion of we had to make signings when a lot of the same people were saying before the window, we had the best squad in the division and we're confident. That's what I'm struggling to understand right now. Sorry, I'll shut up.
Well, what I'd say is, it's just what Leeds, North Carolina said there. Yeah, I probably would have wanted more signings. If we could have got Archer, brilliant. But I think there was drawbacks to that as well. You have to think about it. It isn't a game of FIFA. It's the point I was trying to put along. This is it's a sport, isn't it? Not everything you do is going to be automatically great. If you sign Cameron Archer, everything's good. There's no possible downsides to that. There is downsides to it. Things off the pitch, in terms of Joel Perreault all of a sudden isn't number one striker. Matteo Joseph isn't playing much football at all at the minute anyway. All of a sudden he's now had his minutes halved again, maybe halved even more. That is the thing you have to look at. Yes, I think we all would have wanted more signings. Maybe Daniel Farke would have wanted more signings. Who knows? It's a January window. It's difficult to do business in this window. It's very difficult to do. Teams don't want to sell their star players in January. We don't want to sell our star players in January. Other teams don't want to sell their star players in January. But if we're going to have a go at the 49ers, let's just have a look at the team we've got, okay? We've lost, okay, in the last 18 months. And you can't blame the 49ers for this. You can't blame the 49ers for the fact Luis Sinisterra left the club. Tyler Adams left the club. All the good players from that team that went down left the club. Crescencio Somerville left the club. Jorginho Russell left the club. Archie Gray left the club. The reality is those players wanted to play in the Premier League. We failed to get promoted. Whoever you want to blame for that, we failed to get promoted. We lost those 3 players. But even with that, okay, even with all that stuff that's happened, it's really tested the recruitment team. It's tested Daniel Farke's judgment. The pressure of having to replace players of that quality. Leeds have still got arguably a better squad now off the back of losing 3 players like that. Arguably the 2 best players in the whole league, okay, the whole league in Crescencio Somerville and Jorginho Russell last season. Leeds have still got a stronger squad off the back of that. But apparently the 49ers are frauds, apparently, and they've got it wrong. We've got one of the most dominant teams this league's ever seen after losing a player who's playing regularly for Tottenham, a player who's playing at West Ham, and a player who's playing at Brighton. I don't get it. I honestly don't get it. In terms of, I just wish, okay, one thing I say is, I wish these standards were here that we've got for the 49ers were here when we had Radrizzani and Victor Orta sacking Marcelo Bielsa for Jesse Marsch, okay? That is a decision that's terrible, okay? But these standards weren't there then. That was just, that was fine. That just happened. But now that we've got the most dominant team in the Championship and we're not spending money recklessly, all of a sudden we need to, these owners aren't good enough for Leeds. Massimo Cellino, when he's, I remember going to the Times Ago Massimo protests 5 or 6 times. However many times it was, there wasn't that many fans there. That was when Leeds were in trouble at that point. Leeds were in trouble at that point. This situation we're in now is a whole level above what we're in now. Listen, I'm not saying the 49ers are perfect. We've had certain scenarios where we started last season in a really bad place. It's not perfect. No ownership's perfect. I don't know. I just think compared to what we've had over the last 20 years, and I'm not saying that just because we were bad under Cellino and we were bad under Radrizzani, we should have no standards for the 49ers. I'm not saying that at all. But as I keep saying, our second team would have a good spot a very, very good chance of finishing in the top 2 this season. Our second team would have a good chance. Max Berber, Ramazani, all the other players who aren't playing football. And people will disagree. This will probably get clipped up and I'll be called some kind of 49ers defender. But I just wish the standards that people have got for the 49ers were there under Cellino and under Ramazani when we were an absolute joke at that point. Anyway, rant over.
Yeah. I think when you look at the best signings in the division as well, you got Enzo Lafitte and you got Marcus Edwards, and they're freakish signings. But I'm just not sure we needed to compete with that. To be honest with you, I think we had a good enough squad here. Let's read some of the comments, mates. We're getting way behind here. Will says a lot of times you overpay for marginal talent in January. Think we're good if we stay away from injuries, but that goes for every club. I think that's a really good point, Will. I think it goes for every club, and I feel like right now the whole risk management side is preparing for eventualities of which you can't, predict. So, if we are to predict them hypothetically, a number 10 goes out. I think you've got a fair few options there. You can change formation. You can go to a 4-3-3. You can go to a 4-2-2, 4-4-2.
Yeah.
If you want to go to a 4-2-3.
There are options, though. There are options, mate.
Yeah, and that's it. If you want to go to a 4-2-3-1, you can maintain with the 4-2-3-1. You've got options there. You've got Peru. You've got Nonso. You've got Ramazani. Yeah,
mate, we can play 3 at the back.
You can play
3 at the back. We put drop Abdu into the middle of the back 3. Rodon, Strauch either side. Firpo and Bogle as fullbacks. We can play any system. Leeds United at this moment in time. Name me a system Leeds can't play. Honestly, in the chat, name me a system Leeds can't play. We've got wing backs, we've got fullbacks, we've got plenty of midfielders, we've got defenders who can defend in the back 3. There's not a system any system Daniel Farke wants to play. He's got the personnel to play it. Can you get more perfect? Can you?
Well,
Can you get much better than that?
I mean, you're getting Sheffield United fans, mate, right now happier with what's gone on right now than where Leeds are. You're getting probably Sunderland fans happier than what's gone on with where Leeds are. Probably even Burnley with Marcus Edwards. We talk about being clear and all this sort of stuff. You're 5 points clear with a better goal difference, which acts as an extra point anyway. You go beat Coventry on Wednesday night. It's a little bit of a different story as well. You're making that advantage. Leeds have got to go and do this, everybody. That's the pressure of being at the top of the division. You've got to go and keep going. You can't just say, well, what if we don't win? Well, what if we do win? And the pressure on you is to go and win. You've got to win these games. You've got to be champions. You've got to go and win. Is the squad good enough? The squad is good enough. Is the manager good enough? It is good enough, yeah. So if they don't get promoted, there's a combination of them both. It's the players and it's the manager. It's the players and the manager. That's what it is right now. The squad is more than good enough. 60% are not happy with it. I don't think that was they're not happy with it.
Can I just keep saying, though? I think we should have made signings. But listen, no team in the world is fully happy with their squad. Liverpool fans are not happy with Andy Robertson at this moment in time. I believe you me. I know that because I live near Liverpool. They're top of the league and arguably the best team in Europe. They're not happy with Darwin Núñez up front. They're not happy with their striker situation. No team is fully happy with their squad. Real Madrid aren't fully happy with their squad. Bayern Munich aren't fully happy with their squad. PSG aren't fully happy with their squad. No team is fully happy with their squads. You'll always have the feeling of we could have maybe signed that one extra player.
I'm not going to tell you who this is from. Someone has messaged me who is a fan of another rival club, and it's not who you think it is, because I know a lot of people go to a certain individual. It's not who you think it is. Mate, still completely jealous of your squad going into this window. No matter what business we do, you have still got the best squad in the league by a country mile. Never panic. That's what he sent me. So that is from a rival fan in our division at 10:51. So it's one of those where it's like in the sort of vacuum that we're in right now, where we haven't made a signing. Oscar, imagine if we'd have won like 2-1. Imagine if we'd have like drawn the game. Don't get me wrong, I'd have been a bit worried. I mean, people are saying, Connor, what's your reaction? Do you have the same energy if we lose to Coventry? Well, obviously not, because you're critiquing the performance. You're talking about the performance, but I'm never going to turn around then and go, we needed X and Y body. I don't feel that. Look, as Oscar's quite rightly said, a lot of people say, well, Connie, back in the 49. Guys, I don't know why I'd back the 49 still. I don't get anything from that. I really don't. This is me being truly, transparent with you. I don't get anything from that. But what I am telling you is, when it comes to the 49ers, I think the business, what they've done, we've done it in a very methodical way over the past 2 years. Mia Brown, who we were talking about earlier on, Oscar, I can't think of many signings that they've missed on. I think they've made some really good additions. Radrizzani, there was a list, Radrizzani and Orta, of bad signings that they've made. We've had to suffer for that with the 49ers, and the 49ers haven't really missed when it comes to a signing. So,
well, that's the exact point. The 49ers.
That's that's my whole point. That's what I'm saying. If they've not missed with the signing, if they barely, and I got earlier on Schmidt. Well, Schmidt's not a bad player. He's with squads that good right now at this level. That Schmidt doesn't fit in, and that's fine. That's meritocracy. That's the squad basis right now. But they've barely missed, guys. They've barely missed. That's what I'm saying. If they had a litany of bad signings and mishaps, I'd think, okay, fair enough. But with the signings with the departures that we've had, which have been significant, to recruit like we have done, has been really impressive with the squad number that we have. Look, we have 22 members in the squad right now. I think it's 22, 23. You only involve really in a match day squad and rotation, 12 to 15, 12 to 16 max. The 22 value doesn't really mean anything, to be honest with you. It's just a thing on paper. It's 12 to 16, really. That 12 to 16 is more than good enough. It's absolutely more than good enough. So for me right now, I'm trying to advocate right now, and I think Oscar's doing the same thing right now. Every team in this division is still, even after a window of Leeds not doing anything, jealous of what we have. If we don't go up, then that is a culmination of problems right now. But I think an objective of an ownership is to get it right in the summer so that they don't have to panic in the January. That just is, if anybody's in business, that makes complete sense, because that's long-term planning. It's not short-term panic.
Exactly. Yes. It's almost like, it's like being criticised for if you're building a house and you build it right the first time around, kind of thing. You know what I mean? It's like saying, oh, we didn't come back 4 months later to repair that roofing, or or repair the floor. It feels like that situation. Yeah, I don't think the squad is fully perfect. I don't think there's such a thing as a perfect squad. There's always going to be a position where you look at and think that's a little bit weaker than the other position. It's just football. Every team is trying to sign players. Every team wants to keep the players. Most teams want to keep the players. It's not that easy as just saying, oh, let's get that player in. Let's get that player in. Other teams might want that player. The team that has that player might not want to sell them. Why would Southampton, if you think about it, let's just think about this logically for a second. Why would Southampton want to get rid of Cameron Archer at this point when they've just beaten Ipswich? They are going to probably go down. There's no realistic way they could stay up. But it sends out a bit of a dodgy message if you sell one of your strikers when you've just beaten Ipswich. Maybe give yourself a 1% chance of survival, and then you get rid of, for me, Cameron Archer, out of all the players they've got in terms of strikers, I think he's the best option they've got. I think there's a reason Adam Armstrong is going and Cameron Archer isn't. You're not going to let Cameron Archer and Adam Armstrong leave your club, are you? If you're Southampton, you're not going to do that. There's no logical reason for them to do that.
Do you know what? But do you know what as well? We might be wrong. We come out on here as content creators and put our head above the pit, Oscar. We might be wrong. We might get to the end, and I feel like, according to some, Daniel Farke is going to make every single correct decision. And then you can get to the back end and say, look, the 49ers were wrong. I back both. I think two things can be right. I think Daniel Farke is doing a good job, and the 49ers are doing a good job. There is a weird narrative, and I think me and you have chatted about this off air. There is a weird narrative right now that you have to be Joseph or Peru. And if you're on one side, you're a bad guy. If you're on the other, you're a good guy. Same with Gruev and Rothwell. You're a good guy, you're a bad guy. 49ers or Farke. Why don't we just stop doing this? Why are we doing this? Why is
it's mad. Third point Byron's another one.
But I get it's subjective. I get it's one thing or another. I understand that. But it's not. It doesn't feel like at this point it's becoming a an almost like a nice conversation of which it's like, oh yeah, it's like I'm trying to convey right now is I would prefer Joseph, but I understand what Peru gives to the team. Peru is a massive onus on this team. He scored the second amount of goals, and I'll back Peru to the hill. You've got some people who just literally will not talk about Joseph if they favour Peru. And it comes with like Gruev and Rothwell. It's bizarre. And it's like the 49ers or fuck, it's like this or that. It's like, we'll call them. I'm just like, no, like we're all in this as a collective. We're against the masses. We should all be, I just see it as one. You can criticize things after a game. You can talk about things after a game, but as a collective, as a long-term projection, we should be in this together, in my opinion. I just think right now we're at a really good point. We've just won 7-0. I've never, my team has never won 7-0 in my lifetime. Never. It's never happened. We've got every metric going for us right now. We're 5 points clear at the top of the table. We're in a better zone than what we were last season at this point. I don't get it. I just don't understand it. And I think it's almost just I don't understand it. I just don't get it. But let's I don't know what are you on about, you waffler? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Literally, mate, you disarm all the narratives like I've just tried to do right there, and you just get people like this. It's mental. Let's get in some other bits anyway. Sujal, the 49ers are shrewd operators, so guess we will need to keep the faith. Just hope we don't replicate the end of the previous one. Yeah, it's true, Sujal.
That's true. I mean, it's still listen, next 4 games are very, very difficult games, but we won't lose to Coventry on Wednesday because of a transfer window. We'll lose to Coventry on Wednesday because we didn't get the game right. We didn't get the game plan right. We didn't start the game with the right attitude. We started the game slowly. We let Coventry. That will be the reason we lose the game if we do lose to Coventry. It won't be because this transfer would have made all the difference. No, because we've already got a miles better team than Coventry.
100%. Alan, fair play to you, mate. I know you've got a different opinion. I understand this. We are the best side on paper, but people act like we're miles ahead of every other team. That's not true. The points on the board show it's close, and they've all strengthened now. Yeah,
I personally, I do disagree with that. I think there's other good teams in the league. I think Sunderland's team is very good, but I still think we're a long way ahead.
Yeah, if we were 10 points clear, we'd be fine. Too close, and 1 or 2 injuries, we are in big. Dean, we're 5 points clear. And what happens if Brownhill gets in? Oh, man, I feel like I'm just arguing a lost cause here. Do you know what I mean? I feel like it's like, it's almost as if it can just go our way. The negativity can just go our way in terms of injuries, and the others are fine.
Let's name these players that we can't replace. Okay, Aronson gets injured. We've always said Perot. There's only 2 players who would really struggle to replace in terms of overall quality. That's probably Tanaka, and I'd say Rodon as well for what he gives you at the back in terms of the physical presence. Yeah. I think other than that, we're covered. Yeah, I think we're covered. I don't think there's a massive drop-off other than those 2 players. But guess what? No one's going to sign from the Premier League to be a backup to Joe Rodon because they know they're not going to play football. No one's going to sign to be the backup to Altanaka because they know they're not going to play ahead of Altanaka. You're not going to sign for that situation. You're going to sign for Sunderland or Sheffield United or stay where you are. What's the point of leaving the Premier League to be a bench player? Say Omobamidele, for example, who got mentioned at one point in the window. Yeah, I'd have been well up for signing Omobamidele, but he's not going to play. Why, from his point of view, would he sign for Leeds if he's not going to play?
Well, Quackerslot says, I find it hard to pick who drops out of our last match day squad. It would be seriously talented player coming in. They won't come here if they aren't guaranteed minutes. Pressure is on all the chasing pack. They drop points at any stage and they'll be screaming about how they bought duds. Yeah, it feels like every single signing that has been made has been unbelievable. And we are, according to some, just getting a lot of injuries, which is fine. Scope says that Peru, if he has to drop to 10, we're missing a player that is ready to lead us on the 9. John says, I'm just a Leeds fan. I've been over 50 years. Let's all get behind the team. They'll always be top. Yeah.
This what I'll say. I think don't want to get into a dangerous territory of different opinions. There's no problem with different opinions.
No.
Just to say as well, me and Connor have both said. Connor's mentioned about the goalkeeper situation. I've mentioned about Cameron Archer. Yep. We both wanted signings, by the way. Just to keep saying, we both wanted signings, but we're also I don't think that is enough to then suddenly say, especially when one of the players we were talking about signing was someone that Daniel Farker doesn't want to sign. He doesn't want to sign a goalkeeper. It's quite obvious. It doesn't take a genius to work that out. So the 49ers don't need to overwrite what Daniel Farker says. That is so no problem with different opinions. But if you're going to talk about things like, say, the goalkeeper and things like that, that's Daniel Farker if you need to discuss that with. And by the way, Daniel Farker's got us 5 points clear. Goals scored, we just scored 7 goals. Highest scorers in the league, second best defense, XG for, XG against, expected points. We're topping every metric. So I think it'd be very bold to criticize Daniel Farker as well, to be honest.
Yeah, and a bit of context as well. I think Charlie's right as well. We'll be fine. 16 games to go, 10 wins.
Yeah. 10 wins, a couple of draws. Yeah. It should be enough. It should be enough. And if it's not, we need more than 10 wins. But I think we're capable of 12 wins from 16, to be honest. That still allows you a quarter of your games where you mess up. That's quite a big margin to have.
Yep. Telly says Isidore scored for Sunderland today. Nice transfer return. Yeah. Hold on a sec. I'm just going to check something.
I know what you're checking here.
What do you think I'm checking?
Are you checking to see if Isidore has scored more goals than Joel Perreault this season?
What gives you that impression? Look, I love Isidore. I absolutely love Isidore.
Yeah, I do. I think Isidore.
I think Isidore is
the best striker in the league.
I think Isidore is literally, if we went up to the Premier League, there is a genuine conversation about Isidore. I think his athleticism, his physicality. Guys, I've got a second channel. I am waffling on about Isidore all the time. But unbelievably, believe it or not, staggeringly, even with the attacking talent around Isidore, Joel Perreault, who I'm not a great fan of, has got 12 goals and 5 assists, so 18 goal contributions, which, yes, I'm not a massive fan of Perreault. I've said it multiple times on this channel, but I think him and Joseph offer something different. But, let's not be talking about Isidore as if he's something completely sublime when it comes, because a lot of people will say, oh, well, it's about goals scored, a striker. I keep getting told that, mate. It's about what the goals are scored. So I'm like, right, okay, well, I'm not talking about Joseph then, because people keep saying to me, it's goals, Connor, it's goals, it's goals, it's goals. So Perreault is the second top scorer in the division right now. So let's go with that energy.
And he's not started every game. Yeah, he didn't start any of the first 7, 8 games. I mean, Lati Laff is a similar argument. I personally think Lati Laff, if I'm being totally honest, I think he's a better player than Joel Perreault. I do think he is. I think he's a Premier League player. But he's still got less goals than Joel Perreault, and he's played a lot more football. And Lati Laff obviously has moved on. But when he was in the league, it's that same argument. I think Isidore, now that Lati Laff has left the league, is the best striker in the league, I'd say. And I still think Sunderland will get top 2. I think Sunderland, with what they've got going forward compared to Sheffield United and Burnley, I think I said it last week, I do think Sunderland will get top 2. I think when you're winning away at Borough, I think that's your top 2 this season. I really do.
I do. I think it's. I said it on a stream not long ago. I said it's going to be us or Burnley or Sheffield United and Sunderland. I think Sunderland will get in there. I think I think they're really, really impressive. Right.
Could I just say as well, this Burnley team that's made the sensational signing of Marcus Edwards also drew 0-0 away at Portsmouth and has drawn 10 games this season 0-0. I think if you ask Burnley fans, would you rather have a team that actually has shots, never mind scores goals, has actual shots at goal, or make big signings? I think you probably pick on the pitch in terms of, being a better team going forward. Actually having a philosophy where you're not just trying to keep clean sheet after clean sheet after clean sheet. Because I'm not being funny. We talk about injuries to Brendan Aronson. They have one injury to James Trafford. Their chances of top 2 gone. One injury to Egan Riley or Esteve gone. They would not be able to.
I'll give you one more as well. Who they get another injury to? Who's going to be the most important one to him? They get an injury to Josh Brownhill. They're in big trouble.
Yeah, he's a massive, massive part of what that's going forward. He's their one. Obviously, Marcus Edwards as well. To be fair, okay, he's one of their 2 bits of quality going forward. Really, Zian Fleming is a good player at this level, but I'm not being funny. Was Zian Fleming getting our squad? Genuinely, I'm not dismiss. He's a good footballer. I'm talking more. That's because of the quality of our squad rather than Zian Fleming not being a good footballer. But I'm not even sure he'd get in our squad. I'm genuinely not being funny here. That is my. I don't know if you'd agree with that, Connor.
Zian Fleming, no, he's not getting our squad.
I don't think it's a controversial thing to say, and he's their main number 9. And by the way, Zian Fleming isn't announcing out number 9 either. It's not just Leeds that supposedly don't have out and out number 9s. It's yeah. I think we're disappearing down a rabbit hole here.
is this
I'm also not saying everything is absolutely glorious and we're going to beat every single team 7-0, and winning 7-0 all of a sudden means that we've made no mistakes this season. We've made a lot of mistakes this season. And people have kind of said to me this season that I've been too critical. Well, I'm going quite the other way now all of a sudden, where I think, maybe I'm not being so critical of the team. I think the mistakes were made earlier in the season. I think we've learned from a lot of those mistakes. I really do.
I think everyone's really confused because on this channel, like, we can be critical sometimes. Like, everyone's so confused.
The one thing I've never been critical
Everyone doesn't get it.
is quality. I've never been said we've not got enough quality. Even last season.
But Oscar, you look like Roy Keane now. But you can do something where, look, I've always said this on the channel, like, a lot of the, when we do the debrief, when we do a lot of the reactionary bits after game, I really try, and we've had this combo off air. We try keep it based on the performance. This isn't good enough. This isn't good enough. Rotate it, but we always offer solutions. Always, it's never just we're crap. You see some fan channels online who just literally go out to berate the football team. Every single time there is an objective on my sheet of paper when I do something regarding Leeds United to offer a solution. My opinion as a fan, what I would do. It's never just abundantly negative. Now, what I think right now has been done to this Leeds United side, the solutions have been positive. I think they've been net positive. I think they've worked. And I think that's, the evidence for that is the position that we're in. All the metrics that base Leeds United is the best side in the division, and really across the season, these metrics, these trends, these patterns will see you as winning the division. So a lot of it right now, I'm kind of looking at it and I'm pretty chilled. Like, I was on another stream an hour ago, and I had Sunderland fans, Sheffield United fans, Burnley fans asking me, and they're all so positive towards Leeds. They're all envious. So I'm very much coming on this Leeds stream, and I just feel it's a little bit, and I get it, it's subjective, but it's a little bit panicky, I'd suggest. But I understand. Look, you guys might be right, I might be wrong. But you tune into this channel for maybe a difference of opinion, and me and Oscar are providing that right now. And we may be wrong. It might come to the back end of the window, and Jamie, Telly, Elland, you might all be right, and you can come back to this channel and say, Connor, you're a wanker. Oscar, you're a wanky. You got it all wrong. Bah, bah, bah. Ha, ha, ha. And you can all do that. We're just here to give our opinion. I'm not a pundit. We do this a lot, but we do this in terms of just giving our opinion. This is what we think is going to happen. Doesn't mean it is going to happen, but the whole thing of, like, I'm going to go, and if we lose to Coventry, if we draw to Coventry, I'm going to start slagging everything off. I'm not. If there's fundamentals wrong, I'm going to look at the performance as I always do, but I'm not just going to start slagging everything off that is Leeds United, the entity that is Leeds United, 100% right now, because everything's going quite well. But, in terms of the Daniel Farke, does he need to make rotations, adjustments? And I'll try and offer my fans solution. Yeah, 100%. I do that every single game. But, the overall structure right now, the framework that is Leeds United, I'm quite positive over right now, Oscar.
Yeah, that's what I mean. We've got a dominant squad. Listen, the football this season has at times been dull. Oh, that's me being negative. I'm so negative. I mean, I've put that out several times this season. I think we have at times played at too slow a tempo, but I think we've certainly improved on that. I think, as you've seen certain profiles coming to the team, Manuel Solomon get more of an established role in the team. Out Naka.
By the way, Jamie and Elland, I was calling myself a wanker there, not you guys calling me it. But you can do. I get called a lot worse on YouTube. So.
We've got better as the season's gone on for me. I think we're playing much better than we were at the start of the season. I think, you look at certain games early in the season. You look at the West Brom away game. You look at Middlesbrough at home in the Cup. You look at, say, the Burnley home game. There's been a lot of game Millwall away. We are slowly starting to cut those out in terms of those real off days. Listen, we're still going to have games that we should win and don't win. It's the Championship. I think we're getting a bit better as the season goes on. I think fundamentally, look at what Daniel Farke is doing. It's a very solid job, both in terms of on the eye and in terms of the points. Yes, it would be nice at times if we did fully open up. in terms of at Burnley, I think we still could have gone for the win. I still believe that. I think we had the quality to do that. But I totally understand as well why we didn't. And by the way, we made the right decision because we moved 5 points clear when we could have maybe gone on level on points with Burnley had we
I
lost
think
that game.
Oscar Telly as well. I think Telly always comes in with really good opinions as well. Mate, we hope it all goes well too, but so much hangs on going up stadium, everything. Why not secure the open goal? The hilarious
Does
thing
it guarantee it though? Nothing's a guarantee in football.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing, mate. And what I would say as well, Telly, is I think the biggest thing that we've all been advocating this entire window is a very simple instruction: get the goalkeeper out, put an okay goalkeeper in, of which we have at our disposal. If we want to go and do something, go and do your Hansen for £5 million, and he can simultaneously fit into a Premier League side, because in the summer you're going to get an abundance of Premier League sides in for him. Why? Because he showed an incremental improvement over the past 2 to 3 years in his career, of which our goalkeeper hasn't done. So when I do look at the ownership and the manager, I think to myself, goalkeeper. That was my first thing. You guys all know on this channel for 5 years, but even in December, number 1 position. My old man was on here, number 1 position. Oscar was saying the same thing. Get on here, get a goalkeeper, right? And the thing is, that is, if you're the 49ers, you also have to get the manager's approval for that. The manager, even when this geezer has been making howler after howler after howler, keeps him in. So you are not going to go over the manager's head who you employ, you respect, and go and get another goalkeeper. It is never going to happen in a month of Sundays.
It shouldn't.
I'm not blaming Daniel Farke for this, by the way. This is his belief, his eternal belief that Ilan Meslier is the goalkeeper to take Leeds United forward. But if you are asking me personally, that is, I'm going to use Oscar's word here, the fundamental issue, because I feel if this guy's out of the net, we ain't even talking about Archer. We're not talking about Armstrong. We're not talking about any of them. We are talking about Leeds United 8 or 9 points clear of the championship on the 4th of February, going into Coventry, of which we can chill out a little bit because we've got this point extension. That is, for me, the open goal, excuse the pun. So the fact that they haven't done this window, do I think that's a problem? Yeah, but that's a culmination of them both. It's a culmination of them both. If the manager isn't willing to at least utilize a goalkeeper who is fine as opposed to a bomb scare, that is the manager as well. And this isn't taking away the onus from the 49ers, because the 49ers are also a part of this. So it is a joint venture here. But that is the one position. If you said to me at the start of the day, Connor, where are we investing in? A striker or a goalkeeper? It's a goalkeeper every day and twice on a Sunday for me, because we've scored 60 goals and we would have the best defensive record in the division, or at least on terms with the best defensive record in the division, if it wasn't for the French hologram in there.
Could I just say something else as well? You know what? I'm old enough, ugly enough, and wise enough to remember David O'Leary at Leeds, in terms of how it was a great era. I was only a kid at the time, but I remember this idea of we signed Robbie Fowler. That will guarantee we'll win a trophy. That will guarantee we get. We were a team that kept falling short. Champions League semi-finals, finishing 3rd, I think it was. In the Premier League early in the 2000s. We signed Robbie Fowler. We signed Seth Johnson. We signed who else did we try and sign at that point? We had at one point 6 international strikers on Robbie Keane. Players like that. They're going to guarantee Rio Ferdinand's going to guarantee that Leeds get over the line. There's no guarantees in football. It just isn't a thing. I agree. If we'd signed Cameron Archer, it would have given us a better chance. But we've got to. The idea there's any guarantees in football is just not a thing for me. It's just not something I can agree with.
And Elland, I think we all agree with this. I certainly agree with this more than the number 10 and the number 9. 100%. I agree with this. That's unequivocally the problem. That the club and the manager don't see this as an issue. But I think if the manager's not taking him out and the manager is still calling him what he's calling him, it's difficult for me how the club would go over him and then go and say to him, right, we're going to go and do something. If the manager's not seeing it as a problem, and the owners are a little bit like, well, okay, what then? Oscar,
Can I just say on that as well? No manager in the world makes every decision that the fans agree with. Okay, I agree as well. I personally think that the goalkeeping situation at this moment in time, I don't think there's enough competition for places. I would look to bring in another option and go. I've said that for quite a while now. I think we haven't really refreshed that position for a while, and it's not just in terms of Meslier, but Marcelo Bielsa made decisions that we didn't fully back. We kind of thought, but you back the person in charge. You back the person who say, listen, I don't think Daniel Farke has got anywhere near the same level of I don't even know what the word for it is, as credit in the bank as what Marcelo Bielsa has. But my point is Liverpool fans will question certain things Arne Slot does. City fans, certainly this season, will be questioning a lot of things that Pep Guardiola does. The reality is, everyone has different opinions. But if Ilan Meslier makes mistakes and it costs us promotion, Daniel Farke will get criticised for that. And that's fair. That's football. But you're never going to agree with everything the manager does. It's life.
Can I say as well, and just to round this off, what this has shown me in the window is, am I a little bit more worried about in the summer them being absolutely ruthless and 10 out of 10 recruitment wise? What they've done so far has been pretty damn good, I'd say. But, goalkeeper wise, for example, if I'm using that as an example, has it said to me that they're going to go blow everybody else out the water if we were to get in the Premier League? I think Leeds are going to go up. I'm certain we'll go up. And you guys know I'm very, very critical when it comes to Leeds at certain points, and I'm quite half glass empty in terms of half glass full. This is why you should see a little bit of confidence with me sometimes, especially when I'm talking like this. But does it completely convinced me from a 49ers standpoint? So this will take away this whole narrative that I love the 49ers. So from the 49ers standpoint, does it completely make me, once again using that word, unequivocally think that when they go into the summer window, they're going to blow everybody away and they're going to think we are going to take absolutely no chance in the Premier League? It probably makes me think, I don't know. Are they going to maybe rely on a few players? Are they going to maybe look at a few players that we've got at our disposal right now and think, yeah, they're all right? And does that worry me a little bit? Yeah, it does. It does a little bit. And maybe this window's shown that potentially, if we're being hypercritical and we're hyper analyzing it, but we'll just have to wait and see. Are they going to be absolutely ruthless when we go up to the Premier League, or is there going to be a reliance on Ilan Meslier? Is there going to be a reliance on Brendan Harrison? Because right now in the Championship, no problem with that. Absolutely fine. We can do that, and I think we'll still go up. But long term, is there going to be a little bit of a reliance where there should be a ruthlessness? And that's maybe where we end this video with, Oscar. Is there going to be a reliance over ruthlessness in the Premier League? And that comes from the top down, really. And that's what we've got to be careful of. That's what we've got to steer away from. Because, if they were, ruthless in this window, do we need to do anything? I don't think so. But, if they wanted to be ruthless from an owner's perspective, they could have been. We know that. But I think we'll be fine anyway. But it does pose the question about the Premier League and how they'll go about that. Or maybe it doesn't. Who knows?
We don't know until we get there. That's the honest answer. But what I'd say is that every team has to be ruthless at Premier League level. It's the reality of the league. Brentford and Bournemouth have got to where they have been by being ruthless. Now, there's a difference between being ruthless and reckless. Reckless is when you make decisions for the sake of making decisions, and the wrong ones. Ruthless is where you're making the right choice, and it might be an unpopular choice, one that you have to stick with. Listen, every team has to make decisions like that. Liverpool have to make decisions like that. Man City have to make decisions like that. Look at the squad change in Man City because they've had 6 months of bad form. They've changed almost the whole squad. There's players all of a sudden playing for Man City. I don't know who they are. I'm like thinking, when have City signed him? Kind of thing. Yeah, you have to be ruthless at times. And I don't think now's the time for that conversation. I think it depends on if we go up. It depends on the manner. If we did go up, on how and that as well. And I think throughout the whole club, we'll have to look at certain things. We have to be the Premier League. I'm not a believer that if you go into the Premier League, it has to be horrible. You're going to lose every week. It's going to be tough. It's not going to be fun. There's been enough teams that have gone up with solid fundamentals, solid ideas that have done fine in the Premier League. In fact, if you look at in sort of the 6th to sort of 12th bracket, a lot of them teams were playing in the Championship 2 or 3 years ago. A lot, probably all of them, pretty much. It doesn't have to be terrible. But the trouble is, the margin for error is small. Leicester, listen, they have made some shocking decisions, but the reality is, they've just gone on the wrong path with the initial managerial appointment, with the initial signings made in the summer. and it has just completely ruined them in that kind of sense. And that is the trouble, in terms of Leicester. You'd probably argue were a little bit too ruthless. The likes of Fatawu all of a sudden weren't guaranteed starters. Maybe Didi it's been moved to more of a bench role. There's two sides of it. There is two sides of it. I do think, obviously, you've got to have, you just got to be on your toes in the Premier League. Everything we do needs to be near enough spot on. And if it is, there's no reason why the Premier League has to be horrible. It wasn't horrible in the first season back under Bielsa. It doesn't have to be horrible. But you've got to have the right ideas there. You've got to have an idea of what you're going to do in the Premier League. And what the example I've used is, for example, Fulham and Brentford. Fulham and Brentford play football a lot closer to what we are playing now in the Championship. Possession-based, quite slow in terms of through the thirds, quite methodical, often playing against low blocks. But Brentford changed their approach. Fulham changed their approach. It's reality.
Clearly, just like a yes or no as well, there's clearly, for me, the manager hasn't been convinced on either striker options. Because if Leeds wanted to go and do either striker options, there'd be an obligation in there. We'd have met Southampton's terms in terms of Archer and Armstrong. And he's evidently not been convinced because Leeds haven't pressed that button.
And the other factor is, if it becomes a permanent signing, you look at Archer's record in the Premier League. And by the way, I actually think Archer could do a job in the Premier League. I think he's had two of the worst possible moves he could have made. Sheffield United, and then he made an even worse move by going to Southampton. I don't know what his agent's doing. I don't know what his agent is suggesting those moves for him for, because, I don't know. My recommendation to a Cameron Archer would be change your agent, mate. Honestly, because you're far too good a player to be messing around, playing in teams that just play nothing to his strength. But that's a different kind of discussion. But we've had this before. Leeds went up in 2020. We were committed to Helder Costa. I'm not being funny. Helder Costa was not a Premier League footballer. We ended up paying 17 million for him, which in today's money would be probably about 25, 26 if you're going with like the market inflation now. You could kind of argue the same with Jack Harrison, kind of, in terms of he was obviously great in the first season back, but after that, he hasn't really proven to be a proper Premier League player, has he, really?
I'll tell you what, mate. Just to finish off, because we need to.
Yeah, we're going down. I'm talking about Helder Costa and Jack Harrison now.
We are. It's just FYI, just to end it, you've got Lucas Paqueta tonight playing a coke.
Hang on, West Ham are playing.
I don't know if this is after the game.
Right, okay.
I don't know what's going on. Lucas Paqueta on transfer deadline day playing a coconut simulator.
Vai se ferrar, velho.
So there you go. Have you got any jokes to leave us on?
No, to be fair, no, probably not.
I've got one for you.
Go on.
What do you call a hippie's wife?
Go on.
Mississippi.
That was like looking at Scott Parker's £4,000 jacket and thinking, oh no. Oh, that was the same emotion that gave me.
Do you like that one?
Scott Parker's
I think we've lost 100 viewers there, haven't we? Oh, dearie me. Why was 6 afraid of 7?
Because 7, 8 or something. 7, 8, 9. Yeah, that's it. I was trying to remember which way round it was. Oh no.
What'd you get when you cross a polar bear with a seal?
Go on.
A polar bear.
Right, okay.
Like that one.
It's all right. It's all right.
Oh, Andrew, chill. Why are you here then, mate? Why are you here? Just go to bed, mate. It is what I'm going to bed now, mate. But
you're telling someone else to go to bed whilst I'm talking about Jack Harrison and Helder Costa.
I'm going to bed. You're still here, and Oscar's talking about Jack Harrison and Helder Costa, mate.
My head's on Mars. My head's so
go
far
to bed,
gone.
mate. Why are you watching my channel if you think I talk so much rubbish? But like, just think about your life, mate. Oscar, my IQ test
Yeah,
results
Connor.
came back. They were negative.
Jeez, he's gone ruthless. midnight, and Connor's gone ruthless now.
Nah, I can't be arsed, mate. If you don't like the channel, don't watch. Simple. Oscar, my IQ test results came back. They were negative. Do you like that one? Was that a statement or a joke? Right, mate. We're gonna leave it there. I'm absolutely knackered. You're knackered. I can tell. The chat's knackered as well. It's getting slightly less angry than it was before. Right, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining me. It's been about an 8-9 hour live stream today. Andrew, I love you really, mate. LUFC 1920. We're just having a bit of a laugh towards it. Mate, tomorrow it'll be nicer, won't it? It'll be nicer. Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back here on the other side with something a little bit different tomorrow, etc., etc. And we'll see you in a bit. Cheers.
See you later, guys.